Welcome back to Education Express, my dear friends. Today we are going to begin with the second phase of the chapter, the basic concepts of economics. Earlier in our previous class, we have discussed about human bonds, characteristics of human bonds, types of human bonds, and the various things those were associated and involved with human bonds. After completion of human wants, we finished with different types of goods. Of course, we are very much familiar with the characteristics of the goods. We even know by now what are consumer goods, what are capital goods, what are final goods, and of course, what are intermediate goods. Now, having said that and learned about those simple basic economic concepts, here we have one of the most wonderful concepts in the economic, and that is utility. Now many people have some misconceptions about the utility, and rather they actually don't get the real essence of utility, what it says. Many people have a myth believing utility, referring it to its usefulness, but my dear friends, utility is very different as compared to what we actually think about it, or there is a general notion about the utility. So today we are going to study about utility in detail. What exactly do you mean by utility? Or for a layman, utility in economic would mean what? So economics says utility is the capacity of a commodity to satisfy one's want. That means as long as a commodity possesses the power to satisfy anyone's want, it can be said that it possesses utility. So, utility is a power to satisfy someone's want. Utility of a commodity refers to the capacity of a commodity to satisfy anyone's want. My dear friend, when above definition was analyzed as to what could be the characteristics features of utility, then we thought of the following characteristics. Let me make you understand. First point, utility is a subjective concept. What does that mean? It differs from person to person. Now, I may have a utility for a vegetarian food, but I'll surely not have any utility for non-vegetarian food, because I am a pure veg, and any person like me who is a pure veg probably may not have any utility for the non-vegetarian food. So utility differs from person to person. That is why it is called as a subjective concept. Why? Because it is a subject matter of an individual concern whether a particular thing has a utility for him or it does not have a utility for him. For example, I don't smoke, so cigarettes will have no utility for me. So does it mean that cigarette does not have a utility? That would be wrong. The definition says that the power to satisfy one's want. So even if it has no utility for me, but it surely has a utility for those people who smoke. So that's the reason why we say utility is a subjective concept. It is a subject matter of an individual concern to decide whether a thing possesses utility for you or it does not possess utility for you. So utility is defined as the capacity of a commodity to satisfy one's want. Utility is a subjective concept. Understood about that. Next, utility is a relative concept. Why relative concept? It is a relative concept because utility differs from place to place and time to time. Sir, how? I need umbrellas during rainy season, but I don't need umbrellas during winter season. So that means utility of a commodity changes from basically time to time. If you see during monsoon time, I will need umbrellas, but during winter time, I will not need umbrellas. Sir, could you please give me one more example, place to place and time to time? For example, when you go to a hill station, so of course, because of the cold climate, you genuinely need woolen clothes. But the same woolen clothes are not required during the hot summers. So you can imagine that woolen clothes have a utility during winter or at any hill station. But the same woolen clothes does not command any utility during summer season. So again you can say place to place. Time to time. You had a utility for your books which you studied in standard 8. But now since you are in standard 9, so those books will command no utility for you. You had a utility for your clothes which you wore 2 to 3 years ago. But since you have grown up, those clothes are not going to fit to you. So you will not have utility for those clothes. But of course, those people who will fit into those size will surely have an utility for those clothes also. So utility is defined as the capacity of a commodity to satisfy one's want. Utility is a subjective concept because it is a subject matter of an individual concern to decide whether a thing possesses utility for him or no. A Jain, a person who is a Jain, will surely have no utility for onion, potatoes and everything that has been basically a underground stem. Whereas a person who is a non-Jain probably may cherish with those products, like for example potato chips. Jains have no utility for potato chips, whereas so many non-Jains who relish and enjoy Pringle. So that's how you can say that Pringle has a capacity to satisfy one's want, but at least for Jains, it will not have any utility. That is the reason why we say that utility is a subjective concept. It is a relative concept because it depends upon place to place and time to time. We also covered the example on that. Point number 3. See, many people believe that utility means usefulness. Not necessarily. Usefulness is something different from utility. Many people believe that utility means satisfaction. That is also not true. Utility is different from satisfaction. So prove it. For example, I have 2 tickets for the movie. Those tickets has a utility because I can go and watch the movie. They have a utility to satisfy someone's want. But satisfaction is the end result of consumption. It is only after watching the movie I can express whether I am satisfied or I am dissatisfied. If I genuinely don't like the movie, I may say I am not satisfied with the movie. I simply wasted my time and money both. So utility is different from satisfaction. Satisfaction is the end result of consumption. Only after consuming, I can say whether I am satisfied or I am not satisfied. So often we go to restaurant and we order a plate, thinking that, of course, yes, the dish is going to be very tasty. But after the order is placed and consuming the dish, only then I can say whether I relish the dish or I am dissatisfied. So, of course, yes, the food has a utility, but it's only after consumption I can express whether I am satisfied or not satisfied. Many believe that utility means pleasure. That is also not true. Medicines, of course, have a utility. It helps you cure from your sickness. But what about satisfaction? I don't think so anyone can ever say that, sir, I am so satisfied, I got pleasure from consuming those medicines. No one gets pleasure from consuming the medicines, but of course, because you get cured from your sickness, it's the compulsion that you have to consume medicine. Medicines have utility, but they don't give any pleasure to you. So utility is a capacity of a commodity to satisfy one's want. Of course, yes, sir. Utility is a subjective concept. It is a relative concept. It is different from usefulness. It is different from satisfaction. It is different from pleasure. 5 points. Not only that, my dear friends, utility cannot be measured. Sir, what is that? For example, let us say, can you measure between the 2 persons with a different IQ? I mean, like, the first one got the first rank in the class, whereas the second one got the 4th rank in the class. You can only say, sir, boy A is more intelligent as compared to boy B. But can you say by how much more? 3 kg, 5 kg, 2 meter, 8 meter, 5 kilometer? Sorry boss, we don't have any quantification basically or any unit which can help us express the utility in terms of that unit. We don't have, for example, let us say I consumed 1 apple, then I consumed another apple. Can I say which apple has given you more satisfaction in terms of units? Can I say apple A gave me 5 rupee more satisfaction as compared to apple B? It will be very much unfair. We don't have any particular unit to express our satisfaction, to express this emotional quotient in terms of any particular unit. So utility cannot be measured. It can only be ranked. Of course, I can say that this mango gave me more satisfaction as compared to those mangoes. But by how much unit? I'm sorry, we will fail to express that in terms of unit. So measurement of utility cannot be done. It can only be ranked cardinally. So to sum up, utility is a relative concept, it is a subjective concept, it is different from usefulness, it is different from satisfaction. Utility does not mean pleasure. Utility cannot be measured ordinarily, it can only be ranked. Besides that, utility is not a real concept in the sense it is abstract in nature. So why? Very simple. See, whether a thing possesses utility for you, it will give you a satisfaction or not, it is a psychological concept. It is a psychological decision. For example, someone who was used to drinking, someone who was a drunkard, that means addicted to alcohol. Now suddenly this person got reformed, and by undergoing a particular treatment, a person voluntarily relinquished, gave up, renounced consuming alcohol. Till yesterday, he had a great utility for wine, for alcohol. But now, if you go to see, he has no utility for alcohol. So, a thing which possesses utility yesterday does not have any utility today because of the change in my psychological order, because of the change in my consumption pattern. So that can have an influence with respect to utility. So you cannot say something like this, the utility is a real concept. Utility probably may not be a real concept. That's why we have a list of the things over here. Remember, utility has no real existence because of that. Also, if you go to see, utility is abstract in nature. Abstract in nature in the sense, sir, it is only after consuming the commodity one can say whether I got satisfaction or no. Whether I have utility or not, it all depends upon my own decision. So it is for that reason that we say that it does not have a real existence and it is abstract in nature, cannot be measured, cannot be quantified, cannot have any particular unit to quantify them. To sum up about utility, utility is defined as the capacity of a commodity to satisfy one's want. It is a subjective concept, it is a relative concept, it is different from usefulness, it is different from pleasure, it is different from satisfaction because satisfaction is the end result of consumption. Utility does not have a real existence. It is abstract in nature. It cannot be measured. It cannot be even seen also. That's the reason why I say that it is abstract in nature because it cannot be touched. It cannot be seen. It can only be felt. That's the reason utility cannot be measured in a particular units. My dear friends, we have 4 different types of utilities as far as our syllabus is concerned. And those are, we have form utility, place utility, time utility, and service utility. How each of them behaves. Form utility. What do you mean by form utility? When a raw materials are converted into finished goods. So we are changing the form of one particular thing to another. Take for example, log of wood gets converted into furniture. Take for example, rubber from the rubber tree is converted into tires. So all these are the examples of form utility. Changing the form, changing the identity of the product. Earlier it was a log of wood, but now it is a furniture. So the form has changed. That means I had given a value addition to the existing raw material and converted them into finished goods. That is why we call it a form utility. Changing the form, that means from one form to another form. That is what is called as form utility. After that we have place utility. This concept of place utility many have done in commerce also. Place utility would mean transporting the goods from the place of abundance to the place of scarcity. That means, as we know that huge amount or Punjab is a leading producer, Uttar Pradesh and Punjab are the leading producer of wheat in the country. So the wheat is produced in abundance in this state. Transporting wheat from the place of abundance production to the place where wheat is not grown in this huge quantity, or where there is a scarcity of wheat, is what is called as creation of place utility. So place utility is generally supported by transportation system. That means place utility would mean or defined as transporting or supplying the goods from the place of scarcity from the place of abundance to the place of scarcity. याद रखना दोस्तों, whenever the goods are supplied from the place of abundance to the place of scarcity, we all know that apples are produced in Himachal Pradesh and Kashmir. It's a conducive climate for apples to grow there, but they are supplied throughout the countries. So transporting from the place of abundance to the place of scarcity is called as place utility. Talk about sugarcane. Uttar Pradesh and Maharashtra are the leading producer of sugarcane in the country. Now sugarcane is consumed, and rather sugar is consumed all over the world. But these are the most important states, at least in India, the leading producer of sugar in India. And India ranked second in production of sugar all across the world. So we have Brazil, we have, India, they are the leading producer of sugar in the world, but sugar is consumed all over the world. So transporting from the place of abundance to the place of scarcity is what is called as place utility. After that we have time utility. Now time utility means what? Providing the goods at the right time when they are needed. There are some goods though they are produced throughout the year, but then they are provided in the market only at the right time when they are needed. What do you do then? So we need to stock them, we need to warehouse them so that as and when they are needed, or in case if there is a scarcity in the market about those products, then those can be supplied from my warehouse. In short, supplying the goods at the right time when they are needed to stabilize the price, to ensure that the supply chain does not get disturbed, is what is called as time utility. Time utility is a very important essence in managing the price mechanism in an economy. What happened? Food Corporation of India, they have warehouses across the India. Whenever the food grains are produced in abundance, what does FCI does? FCI will stock the food in huge quantity in their godown. By storing, by stocking, by warehousing these commodities, whenever they are available in abundance, what happens is we are basically able to balance the price. And whenever there is a scarcity of these commodities, this stock would be released to stabilize the price in the market. In short, if you see the economic parameter, what are the different types of utilities? First one is form utility, changing the form or converting the form. For example, log of wood got converted into furniture. So changing the form from one to another is what is called as form utility. Place utility is transportation of the goods from the place of abundance to the place of scarcity is what is called as place utility. Time utility is created when the goods are supplied at the right time. There are so many products which are manufactured throughout the year, but they are consumed only during the particular season. Talk about umbrellas. They probably may be manufactured throughout the year, but then they are consumed only during the rainy season. So what one must do? One, that means the producer, would stock the commodity in the warehouse as and when needed, so that whenever the actual demand for the umbrella arise in season, those umbrellas could actually be supplied to the people. That is what is called as a time utility. And the last one is service utility. We all know and aware about the services of the lawyers, teachers, doctors, insurance agents, bankers, etc. So those are covered under the service utility. So my dear friends, as far as utility is concerned, utility is the power of a commodity to satisfy one's want, or the capacity of a commodity to satisfy one's want. Commodity koi bhi ho. Remember one thing very clearly. Whether a commodity is harmful, beneficial, moral, immoral, it is not my view or a judgment to express my opinion on it. As long as it has the capacity to satisfy one's want, we can say it possesses utility. So I don't have to introspect into whether it is moral or immoral to consume this particular commodity. For that matter, you talk about cigarette, you talk about alcohol, you talk about drug, you talk about nicotine, you talk about non-vegetarian food, you talk about anything. Who am I to express my opinion whether and what you should consume? As long as it has a power to satisfy anyone's want, it has utility. So utility does not differentiate between moral, immoral, beneficial, harmful. Utility is different from satisfaction, it is different from usefulness, it is a psychological concept, it is a relative concept, it is a subjective concept, differs from person to person, it also differs from place to place, differs from time to time. Utility is abstract, you cannot touch, you cannot see it, you can just feel it, you cannot measure it. Utility can only be ranked, it cannot be measured. We don't have any particular unit to express the utility. Also, when I talk about different forms of utility, I would say that the different forms are utility, form utility, place utility, type utility, and service utility. We know conversion of log of wood into furniture would be a form utility. Providing the goods at the right time by warehousing them would be a time utility. Transporting the goods from the place of abundance to the place of scarcity would be place utility, and service utility refers to the services of the doctors, lawyers, and so on and so forth. After that, utility can also be classified into total utility and marginal utility. Let me make you understand this concept very, very clearly. We all know that as a consumption increases, then the satisfaction that we get from increase in consumption, my total satisfaction, what I enjoy, also increases. For example, let us say that you are very hungry and you want to kill your hunger. So I offer you a burger. The first burger that you eat, assume you get a satisfaction of 20 units. I give you one more burger. So one burger gives you satisfaction of 20 units. Two burgers give you a satisfaction of 35 units. So when you consume just one burger, your total utility what you got is 20 units. But when you consume two burgers, your total satisfaction would mean 35. So what is the additional satisfaction that you got from the second burger? Sir, the first one was 20 and first plus second gave me 35. So the additional benefit which I got from the consumption of additional burger would be 15 units. Exactly, my dear friends. Though my total utility is 35, but the increase in utility because of the increased consumption is 15 units. That concept is called as marginal utility. So what does that mean? Marginal utility means the additional benefit which you got from the additional consumption. Oh, really? Yes. For example, if you propose to consume third burger also, and by consuming all the three burgers, your total satisfaction is 45. In this case, your marginal utility would be 10 units. How, sir? When you consumed 1 unit, your consumption, units of consumption of burgers 1, 2 and 3. What was your total utility? So, when I consumed 1, it was 20. When I consumed 2, it was 35. When I consumed 3, sir, it was 45. So, what was the marginal utility? Marginal utility for the first was 20. So when I consumed the second, I got total as 35. So how much is the additional? So additional would be 35 minus 20, 15. Absolutely right. When you consume third burger, after consuming 2, it was 35. After consuming 3, it was 45. How much additional benefit you got from consumption of additional unit? So when I am consuming 2, I get 35. When I consume 3, I got 45. So the additional one burger which I consumed gave me addition of 10 units. So what you observe? So my total utility keeps on increasing with every increase in the consumption. So as I keep on increasing my consumption, my total utility will keep on increasing. How do you find out total utility? So total utility of consuming X units would be equal to total utility of consumption of X units would be equal to utility which I derived from first unit plus utility which I derived from second unit plus utility that I derived from third unit. So basically I have to find out utility of the first unit plus utility of the second unit plus the utility of the third unit. What is the utility which I got from the first unit? 20. What is the utility which I got from the second unit? 50. What is the utility which I derived from the third unit? 10. In short, my total utility of n commodity is nothing but marginal utility of first plus marginal utility of second plus marginal utility of third. In other words, my total utility of n commodity is nothing but total of, sigma means total of, marginal utility of n commodity. My dear friends, total utility of n commodity or total utility of x commodity will be equal to sum total of marginal utility of x commodity. So my friends, if ever you want to write a distinction between total utility and marginal utility, the simple your start would be a definition. Any differentiation must start with the definition. What is the definition of total utility? So total utility is defined as the total satisfaction which a person gets from the consumption of all the units. Absolutely right. And marginal utility is defined as the additional satisfaction. Remember my dear friends, the word additional has to be there. The additional satisfaction which a person gets from the consumption of additional unit or one more unit. So that is a definition. You know what? My total utility will keep on increasing with every increase in the consumption. You can observe from here 20, 35, 45, it will keep on increasing. Whereas if you note marginal utility, then my marginal utility from the consumption of additional unit will keep on diminishing. Finally, total utility is a sum total of the satisfaction derived from the consumption of each and every unit. So total utility of n units would be marginal utility of the first unit plus the second unit plus the third unit. That's how you get to know the total of all the utilities from the consumption of all the units. Whereas when you talk about marginal utility of n commodity would be total utility that you derive from n commodity minus total utility which a person derives from n minus 1 commodity. For a simple example, if you want to find out marginal utility of third unit, so what is the total utility of the third unit? So total utility of the third unit is 45 minus what is the total utility of 3 minus 1, that is 2, that is 35. 45 minus 35, 10. So marginal utility of third unit is 10. Absolutely right. So my dear friends, first is definition. Second is total utility will keep on increasing with increase in consumption, whereas marginal utility will keep on diminishing with every increase in consumption. Point number 3, the symbolical language or an equation for TU and MU can be explored to get, of course, the distinction between the two. What we have done so far is utility and its characteristics. As I have defined utility, the power of a commodity to satisfy one's want or the capacity of any commodity to satisfy one's want is called as utility. Utility is a subjective concept, as you know it very well. It differs from person to person. It is a relative concept. It differs from place to place and time to time. It does not have any real existence because, of course, whether a commodity is giving you a satisfaction or not, it all depends upon your psychological decision. As I given an example of someone who was under the influence of alcohol or person who is addicted to alcohol, and if he gives up alcohol, then later on wine which had a utility for him probably may not have utility in future. It is abstract in the sense that you cannot touch it, you cannot see it, you can only feel it. Utility does not actually mean pleasure. That means medicines have utility but they don't give you any pleasure. Utility is different from satisfaction for a simple reason that satisfaction is an end result of consumption. Only after consumption you can say that you are satisfied or not. A thing has a capacity to satisfy one want, but whether you are satisfied or not, that only time will tell you after its consumption. It cannot be measured, it can only be ranked. As I told you, we don't have any particular unit to measure the utility, it can only be ranked. Utility does not look into the aspect of moral or immoral. Does not matter whether a commodity is morally fit for consumption or it is immoral to consume those things. It does not even matter whether the consumption is harmful, beneficial. It is not the duty for me to give you any kind of value statement with respect to utility. It does not consider, it does not takes into an account. It only says as long as I have a power to satisfy anyone's want, does not matter. It has utility. So my dear friends, there are so many anti-social activities, anti-social services, escort services, even for the sake of saying that prostitution. Of course, socially, it has always been criticized. But since they have a utility, so it can satisfy someone's want. So as long as it has a capacity to satisfy someone's want, we will always say it has utility. Besides that, we discussed with form utility, time utility, place utility and service utility. पता है form utility change of form, that means the identity of the input will translate into an output. Log of wood into furniture was an example given for form utility. Time utility, that means you're stocking it at the right time and supplying it when it is needed. That is by warehousing it. Place utility, transferring the goods from the place of abundance to the place of scarcity. That creates place utility. And service utility would mean services of the teachers, lawyers, doctors, etc. would be included in service utility. Besides that, we also understood the classification of total utility, as already discussed with the help of chart. Marginal utility also discussed. After this, we have an amazing concept of wealth. What exactly do you mean by the term wealth? See, economic has got its own set of definitions. It has got its own set of rules, and we must respect and abide by those technical jargons. We often say that health is wealth. Trust me, this statement in economic is absolutely invalidated. Because in economic, anything to be called as wealth must possess four peculiarities. That means किसी को भी wealth बोलने के पहले इकोनॉमिक के अंदर कोई भी वस्तु को, कोई भी चीज को, कोई भी एसेट को wealth बोलने के पहले you have to make one test and you have to see whether these four parameters, whether these four characteristics are possessed by it or no. If any one of them is missing, it cannot be called as wealth. In economic, health is not a wealth. So why? Anything to be called as a wealth, we need four things. First, it must have utility. Okay, that means it should be useful, or probably it should have a capacity to satisfy one's want. Done. It should be scarce. Oh, scarce means, sir, it should have a price. Then only it will be scarce. Because anything which is available in abundance will never have a price. Scarcity means it should have a value in exchange. Sir, समझ में आ गया. Utility होना चाहिए. Scarcity होना चाहिए. Both these things were there in goods also. Utility, scarcity. Perfect. Not a problem at all. Point number 3. So it should be transferable. That means I should be in a position to transfer from one person to another. It should be easily transferable. Talk about my watch. Is it transferable? Yes, sir, I can transfer it. My house, I can transfer it. My investments, I can transfer it. My phone, I can transfer it. My tongue, sorry, sir, you cannot transfer it. My health, sorry, sir, you cannot transfer it. It is for that reason that health is not a wealth. My voice, my tongue, my heart, these are basically not transferable. And that's the reason why we say that anything to be called as a wealth must possess 4 points. Utility, yes. Scarcity, yes. Transferability, yes. That means anything to be called as a wealth should possess this quality, that it should be transferable in nature. It can be sold, it can be physically transferred. And finally, the fourth one is externality. What do you mean by externality? Sure, it should be visible. It should be external. It should have a definite shape. It should be seen. It should be felt, either legally or physically. That is what is the meaning of the term externally. Remember, my dear friends, there are few intangible assets like patent right, copyrights. Now, copyrights are not to be seen, but they are legal rights to publish a book. Patents are legal rights to sell a particular product under a particular brand name. So they are included in wealth. Copyright, patent right, goodwill, they are all intangible assets. But they all are legally allowed to be sold. They are legally transferred, and they give you a right to either publish a book or to produce a particular product under the particular brand name. Henceforth, they are included in the term wealth. So my dear friend, what all can be included in the term wealth? Anything which has a utility, anything that possesses scarcity, transferability and externality. Externality means visibility. That means book. Book has an externality. Marker, it is external in nature, externality. Mobile phone, externality. My house, externality. Money, jewelry, ornaments, they are all external in nature. So what about my voice? I'm sorry, voice is not transferable and it is not even external in nature. Henceforth, it cannot be called as a wealth. So anything to be called as a wealth, it must possess 4 things: utility, scarcity, transferability and externality. If it possesses all the 4 things, only then it can be called as a wealth. Otherwise, absolutely no. So give me a few more examples. Okay, fine. Tell me, IQ of a person. This person is so amazing smart, and he is super intelligent, super talented. So he is a gem for an organization. Can he be regarded as a wealth? Answer is absolutely no. A talent of a person, IQ of a person, voice of the person, health of the person, which is so much internal in nature, which is not even transferable, it cannot be regarded as a wealth. So what about your house? It is a wealth. Ornaments, it is a wealth. Table chair, it is a wealth. So money, it is a wealth. Jewelry, it is a wealth. Bank balance, it is a wealth. So furniture, it is a wealth. So beauty is not transferable. It is not a wealth. So now I got it. What exactly do we mean by the term wealth? So for sure, sir, health is not a wealth for a simple reason. Health has utility. It is scarce also. But sir, it is not transferable. So that's the reason why health is not a wealth. Alright guys, when I talk about wealth, we have different types of wealth. We have individual wealth, social wealth, national wealth and international wealth. When I am talking to you about individual wealth, the name itself suggests it is privately owned by a particular individual. My house, my apartment, my penthouse, my bungalow, my jewelry, my car, they are all basically owned by an individual in his own individual capacity. Because it is owned in his own individual capacity by himself, it is referred to as an individual wealth. When I talk about social wealth, then the wealth which is owned commonly by the society as a whole. What about the public park? It is owned by a society. It is owned by all the people of a particular social or society. That is what is called as a social wealth. When I talk about national wealth, it means that it is owned by the nation. Now, when I talk about national wealth, I would like to mention about there are 2 different types of, national wealth can be divided into 2 different types. That means, first of all, one must understand, when I am talking about national wealth, it means all the assets that are owned by the nation, all the assets that are owned by the nation is what is the total of my national wealth. Remember, national wealth will comprise of reproducive assets and non-reproducive assets. That means those assets which are produced by people, like machinery, like factories, like any other equipment or an asset or a server or a satellite or a something like that, then those all would be included in the national wealth. At the same time, there are few assets which cannot be reproduced. They are the one which are gifted by nature to us. Sunshine, rivers, oceans, lakes, coal mines. So those mines, quarries, we talk about oil fields, etc. They are all the natural resources which the nature has given to us. It is not possible for us or an individual or a company or for any other entity to produce by themselves. They are only explored. That means we explore the nature and add value to those assets. So anything which is not reproducible, which cannot be reproduced by an individual, which has been offered to us by the nature, is included in non-reproducible assets. My total national wealth would be a sum total of all the assets that can be produced plus all the assets that has been given to me by the nature. Mountains, oceans, lakes, all these things, forest, mines, quarries, they are all included in my national wealth. Remember, while making the sum total of national wealth, the government has to take into consideration sum of all the assets less all the liabilities. For example, in the government bank, people have deposited crores of rupees. Now all that crores of rupees will rest with the government. That means the possession of all the crores of rupees will lie with the government. But that cannot be included in the national wealth because that money does not belong to the government. It belongs to the people who have deposited money with the government. So it is the liability of the government to repay them. So while finding out the total wealth, we take into account total assets minus the total liabilities. Total liability means all the money that the government owe to the people. It is indebted to the people. The government will have to make a sum total of all the assets less the amount of liability which government owe to the people. So in case if you have bought any government bonds or a promissory note or a Kisan Vikas Patra or an Indira Vikas Patra or any other investments that you have made with the government, then from the total of assets of the government, we'll have to subtract all the liabilities that government is out to pay to the people who have deposited the money with the government. So for the purpose of calculation of the national wealth, sum total of all the assets minus the liabilities. My dear friends, individual wealth is a wealth owned by individual in his personal capacity. Social wealth is a wealth which is owned by the society at large. You can talk about parks, you can talk about any other facilities that has been provided by the society, that has been made available to all the members of the society, that has been made available to a particular community of the society. So basically, social wealth is the one which is created, owned, constructed and rest with the society at large. Whereas national wealth is yet a broader term. It takes into account all the wealth which is owned by the country at large. While making an account of national wealth, we take into consideration all the assets, reproductive assets and non-reproductive assets. Reproductive assets are the one which is made by a mankind, which can be reproduced, factories, equipment, satellites, etc. Whereas non-reproductive assets are the one which has been offered to us by nature. So what we do, we generally extract the natural resources in order to get assets out of it. While making the computation of the national wealth, the government must recognize that all the sum of assets that it has, less all the liabilities that the government out to pay to the people at large, must be taken into consideration. Besides that, my dear friends, we have international wealth also. International wealth means wealth which is owned by many countries at large. International organizations like WHO, World Health Organization, Exim Bank, you talk about IMF, that means International Monetary Funds, UN, they are all basically called as international wealth. So, wealth, sir, anything which can be expressed in terms of money and which has a value can be called as wealth. So, for the purpose of defining wealth, we must actually comply to 4-point program. It must have utility, it must have scarcity, it should be transferable, and it should be external in nature. If these 4 conditions are satisfied, we can call a particular thing as a wealth in economics. So far, we discussed with utility, power of a commodity to satisfy one's want, characteristics of utility. So, utility is subjective concept, it is a relative concept, it is different from satisfaction, it is different from usefulness, it is different from pleasure. So, it is abstract in the sense cannot be touched, cannot be seen. So, it cannot be even measured also. So, it does not have any real existence. My mind can change at any point of time. And it does not have any moral value. It can be harmful and it can be harmless whatsoever. So utility can also be different types: form utility, place utility, time utility, and service utility. And so when we classify it, it could be total utility and marginal utility. Total utility is a very important concept. So the total satisfaction which I get from the consumption of all units is called as total utility. That means sum total of consumption from first unit plus second unit plus third unit plus fourth unit is a sum total of total utility which I got. Remember, my dear friends, my total utility will keep on increasing with every increase in the consumption. At the same time, when I'm talking about marginal utility, I'm talking about utility which I got from the consumption of additional unit. So simple additional utility derived from additional consumption is called as marginal utility. My marginal utility will keep on falling with every increase in the consumption. You can check it. Consumption keeps on increasing, but MU keeps on falling. Besides that, we also discussed about the equations of the TU and the MU. After that, we discussed about what exactly is wealth. We know what is wealth. We need 4 characteristics of wealth. And we discussed about different types of wealth as well. That is individual wealth, social wealth, national wealth, and international wealth. Now it's time for us to understand and take very interesting concept on value and price. Very often we say it does not have a value, no value for money. So what exactly do we mean by value and price? See, understand one thing very clearly. In economic, value and price are 2 different things. They are not the same thing. Value is always when we express one commodity in terms of another. One table is equivalent to 3 chairs. So the value of one table is 3 chairs. That is how we say value. Value is a real concept. It takes into consideration the ratio of one commodity to another. So one mango is equivalent to 3 oranges. So value of one mango is 3 oranges. So value of one commodity can be expressed in terms of several other commodities with different ratio. So one TV is equal to 2 mobile phones. So one laptop is equal to 3 mobile phones. So one footwear is equal to 5 marker pens. So one fan is equal to 7 tube lights. We are all discussing about value of one fan in terms of tube light, value of one fan in terms of bulb, value of one fan in terms of number of tables, value of one fan in terms of something else. So value is a real concept. It takes into consideration or it expresses one commodity in terms of another. What about price? So price means whenever the value is expressed in terms of money. This mobile phone, is it valuable? Of course it's valuable. So tell me how much? So 44,000 rupees. So value, when you express in terms of price, it is called as, that means value when expressed in terms of money, it is called as price. Whenever we ask about, भैया ये कितने का है? So the answer is always in terms of money. So when the value of a commodity is expressed in terms of money, it is what is called as price. So value when expressed in terms of money is called as price. And what is value? So value is the rate at which one commodity is expressed in terms of another. When one commodity is expressed in terms of another commodity, it is called as the value of that commodity. 1 kg of sugar is equal to 5 kg of cotton. So 1 kg of sugar is equal to 5 kg of cotton, means the value of 1 kg of sugar will be 5 kg cotton. Whereas 1 kg of sugar is equal to 60 rupees. So the value of the sugar when expressed in terms of money, it is called as price. How to differentiate between value and price? Simple differentiation. So value is a real concept, whereas price is abstract in nature. So value is the ratio of one commodity expressed in terms of another, whereas the price is the value when expressed in terms of money, it is called as a price. So value of one commodity in terms of another commodity can change, but value of all the commodities cannot change simultaneously. Value of all commodities cannot change simultaneously, but price of all commodities can change simultaneously. See, understand, during inflation, when there is a general rise in the price of a commodity, price of all the commodities may change, but value of all the commodity may not change simultaneously. Some of them can change, but all of them cannot change simultaneously. Value is more realistic concept. Price is subjected to fluctuation because of many factors. Value is expressing one commodity in terms of another. Price is expressing value in terms of money. Value will always offer ratio of one commodity to another commodity. Whereas when we talk about price, price is always related to one unit. That is why we say value of one unit expressed in terms of money is called as price. Price is always for per unit, whereas value is the ratio between the two units which stand for one another. Example, 3 kg of sugar is equal to 2 kg of pulses. 3 kg of sugar, 2 kg of pulses. Here we have ratio of 3 to 2. Whereas price of pulses, when I ask what are the price of pulses, the answer would be, sir, it's 62 rupees per kg. Price is always expressed per unit, per kg, per piece, and something like that. So my dear friends, when we differentiate between value and price, so one must be very confident about the fact. So value is a real concept, whereas price is a monetary concept. So value is a ratio in which one commodity can be expressed in terms of another, whereas price is nothing but the value expressed in terms of money. So value always refers to the ratio of commodity, which could be anything, whereas price always refers to one unit. That means the money that we pay per unit is what is called as price. So it is not possible simultaneously to change, increase or decrease the value of all the commodities together, whereas price of all the commodity may change together. So these are the very simple differentiation between value and price, which has been expressed over here. Value is a real concept, price is a money concept. Value refers to exchange ratio between two commodities, whereas price is nothing but value expressed in terms of money. When I am talking about value, one commodity is expressed in terms of another commodity, whereas over here everything is expressed in terms of money only. Value of all commodity cannot change simultaneously, whereas price of, that means price rise or fall, can happen together for all the commodities. This is more realistic concept, whereas this is a rigid concept. Value can always be expressed as value in use and value in exchange. So what do you mean by value in use? See, value in use would mean usefulness of the commodity. Air. Air has a value in use, but air does not have any value in exchange. Value can be divided into value in use and value in exchange. Value in use means only usefulness of the commodity. A commodity is not scarce. Because it is not scarce, it only possesses value in use, but has got zero value in exchange. Whereas you talk about diamond. Diamond has no value in use because it is merely a status symbol, but it has got a huge value in exchange. A diamond can be exchanged for many other commodities and can be exchanged for a huge amount of money also. So value can be value in use and value in exchange. Value in use refers to the usefulness of the commodity. Now the usefulness of the commodity can be attributed to natural factors or man-made factors. Air is a natural factor. Car you talk about, few of them are attributed by the natural factors and few of them are attributed by the man-made factors. Tire of the car, rubber extracted from natural factor. Steel is from the natural factor. But when you talk about glass, man-made factor. When you talk about engine, man-made factor. So the pleasure which one gets or the usefulness which one gets from consuming the car can be attributed to the natural factor as well as a man-made factor. So when I am talking about value can be divided into value in use, value in exchange. Value in use refers to usefulness of the commodity. Value in exchange means the rate at which one commodity can be exchanged for another. We all know air cannot be exchanged for anything. We all know sunshine cannot be exchanged for anything. We all know rainwater, which is freely available, so much useful to us. It has a value in use but does not have value in exchange. Air has a value in use, does not have value in exchange. So why it does not have value in exchange? It does not have value in exchange because it is available in abundance. It is not scarce. Anything which is not scarce cannot have value in exchange. So anything to possess a value in exchange must have utility and scarcity. Only if it has utility and scarcity, it can command exchange value. Imagine the paradox of value. Air, which has high value in use but has zero value in exchange. Diamond, which has got zero value in use but extremely high value in exchange. So my dear friend, this is called as Giffen's paradox or paradox of value, which states something which is so much important and vital for our life like air does not command any price, whereas diamond, which we don't even consume, and the real diamond is rarely consumed anywhere in the industry also except for the status symbol and accumulation of wealth. It has no other purpose but still commands such high value in exchange because it is scarce in nature. With this, my dear friends, we will be completing our second class with respect to basic concepts. There are many more to follow. Thank you so much for watching the video. I like it. Thank you.